Hello and welcome along to a very special edition of the Westminster Roundup. In current circumstances, much like many of our members out there, we are now working remotely. So we have decided to come to you virtually and visually on this occasion, and hopefully it will be the first of many updates we can help provide the sector and our members in the current time. I'm once again joined by the Alliance's Parliamentary and Policy Officer, Ryan McCulloch. Thank you so much for joining us, Ryan.
No worries, Alex. How are you? Keeping well?
Keeping well, yes, yeah, keeping active, most importantly at home, taking our one opportunity a day to get out there and do some physical activity.
Yeah, absolutely. Really important.
So there is so much to get through. So sorry to kick the small talk into the grass so early on, but I know that our members will be wanting to know the latest around the coronavirus support. And it's been a very big week this week, starting with an announcement from Sport England around some additional funding for our members to potentially get their hands on. So what has been announced and how can our members in the wider sector access some financial support?
Yeah, so the Sport England funding is probably the big one to start with that you've just mentioned there. They've released quite a bit of money in kind of different forms and for different things, different pots of money available. There's money for funded sports and NDB. That's those that are regularly funded by Sport England anyway. And there's the kind of different funding available there. But quite crucially, importantly, is Sport England's kind of stepped up and providing money for grassroots clubs and those that they wouldn't usually fund, which is good news. And that's designed, obviously, to keep the sector and the important grassroots work kind of going during this period, so we can all hopefully pick back up again when we get through this.
And I know it's not just the financial turmoil that is facing some member organisations at the moment, but there are other issues which we have been taking a look at and providing some support on. I know that there's a frequently asked questions section on our website. So what else have we been supporting our membership on?
Yeah, so we've been, as you say, we've got an FAQ section on the website, and in there there's a breakdown of all of the kind of help and support measures announced by the government and by other organisations. So the Sport England funding pot is in there. There's also the Charities Aid Foundation pot, which is available to kind of obviously charities and small groups. So members can take a look at the FAQs there and click through and find out if they're eligible for that. We've also got a lot of information, as I said, about what the government has released. So there's stuff on the business interruption loan, there's stuff on job retention for staff, the support available for those who are self-employed in the sector. And there's a range of different information on there, and there's a lot of detail in it. So I'd encourage members to go and have a look at it. But we can obviously answer any questions that people might have.
And I know that you've been receiving a lot of questions, a lot of direct questions into the policy inbox around queries from our members. Can you shine a light on some of those for us, please?
Yeah, so as I say, we're happy to take any and all queries at the moment. It's an uncertain time for everybody. We've had quite a range, actually, and that kind of reflects what I've just said there about the uncertainty of it and the uncertainty of some of the announcements that have been made. So we've had some queries about the rateable value stuff and the grant available to businesses with a rateable value of up to 51. Some sports, by the nature of the playing surface, have a rateable value that's in the next bracket, unfortunately. So we've had some queries about that. We've also had some queries about from a number of horse stables about whether they're eligible in the leisure retail grant money for their activities. And also we've had some queries about groundwork and the idea that with the close down and kind of working arrangements for a lot of organisations and the shutdown of grassroots sports facilities, how they can be maintained over this period so that they are not kind of growing out of control, and that we don't come, so that grassroots sport is ready to go when it can again and not have to deal with the effects of not having had ground staff work during that period.
And interestingly, that was one of the queries we had into our inbox this week that was then directly raised by our CEO, Lisa Wainwright, at her weekly meeting with DCMS, the Secretary of State and the Sports Minister, and we sought clarification on that, and we're happy to reveal that we did receive some clarification yesterday evening. Let us know what that was, Ryan.
Yeah, you're right. We did receive some clarification, and I think credit has got to be given to the Department for Digital Culture, Media, Sport, the Secretary of State and the Minister for engaging with the sports sector on such a regular basis during this crisis. It shows that they're kind of committed to making sure the sports sector is protected, and they did confirm yesterday in the meeting with Lisa. I spoke to Lisa and she said that they've confirmed that ground staff can work during this period. as long as it's work that can't be done remotely, which you'd assume with groundwork is not something you can do from home. But of course, social distancing to be observed at all times. So that's great, and it shows that while I'm not going to sit here and promise that we can get every change that people come to us with, something like that, having that regular chain of kind of communication with DCMS has meant that we can get that change, or at least that confirmation.
And it's not only these regular meetings with DCMS that we are having, we are making calls to different government departments, and we're also talking to sector stakeholders throughout the week. So if there are any members with queries out there that they would like us to try and push forward or ask the question on their behalf, please do continue to get in touch with us, and you can do that with the policy team via policy@sportandrecreation.org.uk. So to steal some attention away from COVID-19 for a moment, the political juggernaut does carry on, and the Labour leadership contest has concluded this week with an announcement due tomorrow. What are we expecting to see, Ryan?
Yep, you're right. We're expecting an announcement tomorrow. I think it's 10:45, so Saturday 4th. And it's between three, basically. It's between Sir Keir Starmer, Lisa Nandy and Rebecca Long-Bailey. Voting closed Thursday 2nd at midday, so they're obviously being counted for a couple of days, and then we'll find out who the winner is at what will be a much more obviously low-key ceremony is probably the wrong word, low-key announcement. And I know that Rebecca Long-Bailey said all three candidates have been asked already to virtually record a winner's speech, so obviously only one of them is going to be played, but we'll find out tomorrow.
And are you expecting a particular winner of that leadership contest?
Well, if all the kind of words you see in the media and all the kind of bookies are to be believed, then Sir Keir Starmer's been the favourite pretty much the whole way through. But with a Labour leadership, at least in recent times, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. Obviously, you look at Jeremy Corbyn, who was an outsider. Ed Miliband beat his brother David, who was the favourite in the previous leadership contest. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to win, but he's the strong favourite.
And it's really important for the Alliance and other organisations to connect with the leader of the opposition and his team. We have to recognise that whilst the coronavirus support at the moment is the target focus, that once we come out of this, we must continue being a strong sector with a voice in Parliament, including with the opposition.
Yeah, you're right. And we, as we've already talked about, we work with government when we think they're doing something well and help make changes that way. But we need a strong opposition and a strong shadow team, and that is, that their changes to be looking out for on that point is that whoever is elected leader will probably bring in a new front bench, and we may see a new shadow sports team. But we'd want to work with them and with the leader to hold the government to account on some of the things that we think that they're not doing that would benefit our members and would benefit grassroots sport. And that's why it's vital that we build that relationship with them early on.
So we look forward to that announcement tomorrow. Make sure you're following the Sport and Recreation Alliance on Twitter @SportRecTweets, where we'll be announcing that as well, and congratulating the new leader of the opposition. And once again, I guess just a message to our members that if you do require any additional support at this time, please head to the Alliance website, check out the frequently asked questions section. We have some governance advice on there as well. We have some tips from work from home to make sure that your staff are comfortable and well supported. Do email the policy inbox with any direct queries. We are here to support you for the long run, and we will continue to be your voice in Parliament and for the sector. Thank you so much to Ryan for joining me. As I mentioned earlier, hopefully this will be the first of many updates for our members, and we hope you can join us for another Westminster Roundup very soon.